What's up, guys? I made $14,000 today working from home, trading. What I've been doing for the past 7 years. I'm gonna go ahead and take you guys to the charts, show you what it was I was doing, and how you can do it too. All right, what's up, guys? Eric here, and I want to talk about the trading day today. It is June the 14th, and I'll pull this over here in the top left corner. You guys can see, looking at just a little bit over $14,000 in realized trading profits on the day right there. So what I want to do here, I want to break this down for you, show you the trades that I took, why I took them, what I used in order to get into those trades, what I was looking at in order to get out of those trades, and just some things like that to give you guys a little bit of insight of what it's like to be a trader and the things that I see, and hopefully you guys are able to start picking up on some of those yourself. So what I want to start with here, I've got 3 trades that I want to review that led to essentially this $14,000 in profits. And for the most part, it all came from Netflix. So I want to start with actually the loser here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this over and you guys can see what we're going to be looking at here. This is just showing the account, all the orders, and the different symbols that we were trading here, which so far is showing the last 4 days. It is Thursday, so this is just for this week. And you can see these are the only trades that I've taken in this account. So I didn't place my first trade for the week until yesterday, June 13th here. So we're all the way scrolled down there, and that was my first trade of the week. So for me, I've been full-time now for about 7 years. Next month will make 7 years. And I don't have to trade every single day. And I kind of encourage others not to trade every single day unless there's a picture perfect setup or you see something that meets all of your criteria. The not having a position is a position. Sitting on your hands is something that you can do. So I want to talk about the loser that I had here first, which was just a really small loser here, and that's going to be in Facebook. So what we're looking at here, I'm going to go ahead and bring a calculator over as well. And you guys can see these are the commissions, the different exchanges that everything was executed on. And then right here is going to tell you what I did, how many I bought or sold, what the underlying was, and then the strike price. So I was actually trading some Facebook calls at this time. So I want to run this through you guys real quick. So I bought 5 of the 197.5 calls for 31 cents. And then about a minute later, this was right before noontime yesterday, Eastern Standard, I went ahead and bought 5 more for 30 cents. So I went ahead and just placed those orders there as limits to go ahead and get into this position. Now, what I was looking at here in Facebook, and we'll go ahead and switch this over to an hourly chart. And one thing I like to use in terms of my analysis is the hourly chart. So disregard this candlestick right here. This is definitely not a real price action movement right there. You can see if you switch down to, say, like a 5-minute chart and zoom out, you're going to see there's just really no way that this was actually trading that. I mean, that's a 178 all the way up to basically 198. That's a 20-point move. So go ahead and just disregard that tick there. And if you actually want to clean this up, you can come in here and right click on it and then click correct this bar. You come in here and change the high to say, let's change the high to 187.50 or so. We'll give it a little bit of room there. Bar cannot be corrected using entered values. Oh, the close was 188.13. That's why. So let's go 188.50. There we go. And click close. So there we go. That got rid of that tail for us there. And again, you got to make the high, better than the close, or higher than the close. And the same thing for the low. If I wanted to correct this, I'd have to put the low in here somewhere around 187s so that it's beneath that close. Now, what I'm paying attention to here in Facebook and what I saw was 194.40s. This is that prior pivot from back here. And I went ahead and marked that level up, and you can see we actually traded 194.35 yesterday, right around the time I got in, and then we actually ended up popping up to 194.50 here at the end of the day in Facebook. So drill down here into a 15-minute chart, and you'll see right where I got in was right about noon. So right in this time frame, right in through here, right about 193.90 in the stock. So what I saw happening in Facebook was, okay, we're pushing up into this resistance level. We just got a pullback. We were a couple ticks away from it. I want to go ahead and try and buy this first little pullback here. I don't know where it's going to stop, but I want to go ahead and pick up a little bit of a position. So that's where I stepped in. I bought these 197 halves for 30 and 31 cents. And what that ends up being is 10 contracts times $30 basically. So I had about $300 in risk in this trade, and I never ended up adding to the position because it never did what I really wanted to see it do, right? I was looking for it to get the move through this level yesterday, get closes above, and then we could work our way up towards 200. So when that didn't happen, I went ahead and stepped in this morning at 10:57, right in through here. As soon as we kind of pushed up through these levels, I was like, all right, we don't have enough time for this position. And I recouped a little bit of my losses there and went ahead and got out of this. So sold those 10 contracts for 18 cents, which gives the difference here of about 12 cents there, which equals about $120 loss on this Facebook position. So I did lose some money here on Facebook, and I do want to talk about that just because it is important to show that, and how I managed it, because if you can't manage your losers, then it really doesn't matter how big your winners are, because they're going to get out of hand. Your losers, what I'm talking about there. So that's what I did in Facebook. Next here, I want to go ahead, and you guys can see RTY, Facebook, and Netflix were the positions that I've had for this week. So next up, I want to talk about Netflix. So you can see here in Netflix, I'll go ahead and put this up on a chart right here. Netflix is just on a daily chart here, just to give you guys some perspective if you haven't been following it. This thing has been on an absolute tear. And we broke through some important resistance levels for me yesterday. So now I didn't get into this as early as I would have liked to. I was a little bit late to this, and I'll show you guys where I got in at. But this thing is on an absolute tear. So I see a really, really solid uptrend in Netflix here. We're pushing higher. We pushed through my level here of 369.52s. So I got to find a position. So what did I take? Well, the first thing I did here, and if we look, you'll see that there's a group of 375 calls there. And then there's also a kind of little standalone 380 call right there. So I went ahead and picked up 1, 2, 6, and then 10 of these 375 calls. So I went ahead and had 10 375 calls, and then I also bought 5 of those 380s. Now, my average price here on these 375s is about $4.55. And you can see kind of behind this box there that I just drew, my average was $2.50 on those 380s. So that's where I got into this position. We'll go ahead and take a look here at the time frame of that. So that was 11:56, 11:57. And what I was watching right here was, okay, we came up, we pushed through my resistance levels, and we started to flag, right? So when I'm talking about flagging, we've got a nice flag, and it does something like this. Well, that's exactly what this did. We pushed up, and we had a nice little flag forming there. That's considered a bull flag. And once I see that start to form, I'm like, okay, this is a position I need to get into. And I actually got in late. You can see 11:56 is right up in here, about 375, 376, somewhere in this range. So I was about $2 late getting into this trade. I got in right in here when I should have been getting in right about there when that flag broke out. So it happens, and I was still able to pick up the position. And the real question is, what did it end up turning into today, and where did I get out of that? So you'll see here, so I have 10 contracts, not 12, 10 contracts here from $4.55, which is about $455 there. I've got a couple contracts that went off there at $4.56. So my total investment in this trade was $4,550. And if we're going to go ahead and take a look at what I started selling some of these at here, you can see I got rid of 2 contracts. So I sold 2 contracts here for $16. So that right there is $3,200 because each contract is worth $1,600 and I sold 2 of them. So now I've recouped, 70% of my money just by selling 2 contracts, and I'm still sitting on 8 of them. Now, the next thing we want to pay attention to here with these 375s is I didn't start selling more of those until up in here where I started layering out 4 more right there. Let's call this an average of, say, $15, right? We got a couple at $14.29, $14.90, $15.22. So I got rid of 4 more there at basically $15. That's equivalent to $6 grand, right? So now if we're doing the math, we got $3,200 in here. We got $6 grand in here. So now we're at $9,200 that we've returned on our investment so far, right? We've got our initial investment back and we have $9,200 for this trade so far. Now I got to find the other 375s which come in up here, and let's go ahead and call these 1350 that I got out of those. So I got out of 4 of them for $13.50, which will be $1,350 a piece. So that's $5,400 plus the $9,200 that we were working with there. And you can see this just the 375s, we're not even on the 380 calls yet, netted me $14,600 minus the $45.50 that I paid for that, right? Minus, some commissions and things like that in there. So right at about $10,000 on the Netflix 375 calls is what I made. And I got out of those right about here. So you can see the first order there went off at 1032s, and that's going to be right here inside of this bar. And when I looked, the price was printing about 390.50 when I started selling some of those. So that's where I got out of those. And then I got out of the rest of these down here pretty much right on this low at 1055, which was inside of this bar here. We dipped a little bit lower there. But yeah, I just went ahead and had stops in place there and got out of the rest of those other 4 that we were talking about up here. So that trade netted me $10,000 in profit on Netflix. Now, the next trade that we have to look at here in Netflix was the 380s that we bought here for $2.50. Now, I started selling some of those right through here. So I went ahead and sold 3 of those about the same time that I took out the 375s here on the first move. And I got out of those for $11 on average. You got some at 1090 here, some at 1095, and one at 1111. So I had 5 of those, right? This is where we're looking at the 5. And I went ahead and got out of 1, 2, 3 of those 380s there. So let's do the math on this. I picked up 5 contracts for $2.50 a piece, so $250. My total investment in this trade for the 380s was $1,250. Now, I went ahead and sold 3 of these for basically $11 each. So that's going to be 3 times 1,100. I'm already at $3,300 in capital back to my account, and I only put $1,250 on this trade, and I still got another 2 contracts to get rid of. So where did I get rid of those other 2 contracts at is going to be right up in here. Right there you can see I sold one 380 and I sold another one 380 about a minute apart there, and I sold those for $9.50 on average. So if we're going to do the math here, that's going to be plus $950 plus $950. So I'm at $5,200 that's been returned to me for this trade. And if you remember, I only had $1,250 invested into this total trade. So right there puts me at about $3,950, excluding some commissions, and we're rounding numbers for sakes of the video and education here. But all in all, between the $10,000 that I made on the 375 calls and the $4,000 that I made here on these 380 calls, was up a little over $14,000 on the day there for trading Netflix. Now I did lose, like I said, $120 in Facebook, and I'm really not too concerned with that. If I lose $120 on a trade and I make $14,000 on another trade, I'm completely fine with that risk to reward ratio for as long as I continue to trade. I am not worried about that in the slightest bit. So that's what I did there in Netflix. And next up, I want to talk about, I had a little small trade here in the Russell using what is my favorite and only indicator that I use, and that's going to be the divergence. So let me go ahead, pull up the Russell here. That'll switch over. So I got some levels here marked up on the charts for the Russell, and I took this trade really late. And it's not the greatest thing to take a trade really late, and I'll show you guys what I did and why I was kind of interested in taking the position still, even though it pushed through, or I got in late, I should say, and was able to push through up into targets for me. So taking a look at that divergence that I talked about here, this is my exit right up in here on the Russell. See that red arrow there right there? Combine that with the level that I draw in based on my analysis for support and resistance. That's my target area. Now, where I wanted to get into this trade at was down at my other level, 1679.80s. That didn't happen. I didn't get in there. I wish I would have, and it meets all of the criteria for one of my trades. And the reason why is if we're looking at this 11 o'clock bar, and you guys can pull up your own charts and look at this as well, is you can see the S&P's put in new lows, the Russell puts in new lows, and the Dow, which is in the bottom right here, puts in new lows. Now, the Dow actually gets a signal here. There's a green arrow there telling us that we can potentially get long here at 11 o'clock. And the reason that we would even consider looking at long opportunities there is because the Nasdaq here, which you can see, this bottoming tail right there, doesn't actually break through the morning lows. So we've got what I call a divergence in place. And even better yet, we have a divergence with a signal, and the signal, i.e. being this green arrow happening here in the Dow. So if I was sitting at my computer at this moment in time, which I was not, I would have been in this position as it rallied back through my 1679.80 level. I would have taken that trade a little bit early, not waited for the traditional trigger that I'd like to see based on the analysis I just gave you. So where did I actually get into this trade at then is the real question. So let me pull this up here, and you can see what happens is right here at about 11:50, I went ahead and started stepping in this position. I bought all right through here. So I bought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I added another 3 there, rounded it off, and gave me a position of 8 contracts. And if we look at the charts here, 1150 is pretty much right here. 1687.50 is kind of my average entry there, so right about there. Now, why would I buy right there? You know, we've got a really nice V bottom here popping up. We've rallied about 10 points off the lows here. The Russell hasn't had a pullback. Why would I buy there and not wait for this pullback? Well, the reason being is because we did have that divergence in place, and I've got a level above that I think is going to trade, which in fact does trade and pushes through into new highs there by just a little bit. So I see a really aggressive move happening, and I just want to scalp this move up here into this level. So what did I do? I went ahead and let this rally up. I went ahead and started selling some at 1689.50, 1689.50, 89.30s, and then I just went ahead and put stops in down here under 88.60s. So right there, 88.60s, I put stops in beneath that and got taken out right here at about 12.26 on this move. So why 1689.50s? Why 1689.30s? Well, I wanted to just step in front of this 1689.80 level I had by just a little bit there, right? That's my level. That's where I think it's going to go to. I want to step a little bit in front of that and allow it to take me out as the market comes up into those levels. Or in some instances, what I'll do is I'll allow it to push into those levels, and then I'll give it a really tight trail stop. So if we push through a level, like let's say we're trading right here, and it's like, okay, we should continue higher here, I'll just go ahead and put stops beneath 1689.80s, because that level should hold and keep us going higher according to my analysis. So that's the breakdown for the Russell there. That trade ended up netting $522 here. I can pull this over into the screen here so you guys can see that. You can see 16 89s, what we're currently trading at right now. This is a little bit of delayed data because I actually do not pay for data on this account because I don't necessarily need it because I have thinkorswim charts. So this ended up being $522 in profit there on the day for the Russell. Just a quick little scalp. And I was in and out of this trade in about 30 minutes, give or take. So 11:50 to 12:26 by the time I got out of the next one. So in about 30 minutes, made $522 on that position there. So that's what I got for you guys. That's the breakdown in terms of what it is that I was looking for on the day from yesterday, which is when I placed my first trade for the week. You can see this is the last 4 days here, and showing you the Netflix, the small loss that I took there in Facebook, and then just kind of the little kicker there for 500 bucks that I added on the Russell. So hopefully this helps you guys. If you have questions, if you have ideas and comments for future videos, please leave those in the comment section below. Also, be sure to hit that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up on this video if you enjoyed the content. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.